Today on Sports Idiot Nation, we'll tell you what's wrong with the college football playoff. We'll tell you why the three-pointer is not the problem in the NBA. And we'll tell you what we always love about Ricky Henderson.
Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots.
Stay in your lane, Kiffin. And you too, Bama. And ESPN. And just the whole damn SEC.
This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. Welcome, sinners. This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Welcome in. Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. It is December 23rd, Christmas Eve. So that means it is time for Sports Idiot Nation as new episodes come to you every Monday and Thursday. We are the twice a week show that comes to you by idiots for idiots. I am Adam Marino, as always, joined by Mr. T.I., Mr. 32,000, and miles behind enemy lines. And I will tell you that Saturday was one of the action-packed football days in the history of mankind. And the games weren't the greatest ever, but college football playoff, NFL games, I mean, talk about action-packed. But we'll get there. I want to start with Friday because I'll give Miles his end of the year send off to IU football. We'll give him his proper time here. But I just want to say what was cool is I was able to go down to South Bend, and if you checked out Sports Idiot Nation on Instagram and Facebook for sure, I posted a story kind of throughout the night before the game of just being out and about with people, kind of walking through tailgates, trying to steal as much food as I could. And it was just electric atmosphere. So many people just excited for college football playoff. We'll tell you what's wrong with the playoff here in a little bit, but let's give some time here to Miles. Take it away for IU football.
Hell of a year, man. Obviously didn't end the way we wanted to, but this is a season I will remember until the day I die, which could be 80 years from now, could be next week. But I'll remember it when I die. I'm just really proud of the effort the team went into. Very excited that I got a chance to go to a game, played the only top 25 team that they beat. At that time, they were ranked top 25 in the coaches poll and won by 50. It was just a different feel this season, and you could tell by probably about that third game that this team was going to do something special by Indiana standards. Really excited about what's to come from right. I mean, three to four wins a year coming into the year. I've said it many times. I was just praying to get to 6-6 and get to Detroit for a bowl game, and the fact that we ended up
the Motorboating
about
Bowl
100 miles away in Notre Dame for a playoff game. It still is surreal, the fact that we were just there. I don't care what the final score was. I don't care what anyone on ESPN or any other team, which we'll get to later, a little foreshadowing. I don't give a damn. We earned it. We did belong there. We're 11-1 for a reason, and I really, really am excited to see what happens going forward. Just found out the news yesterday that Aiden Fisher, our All-American linebacker, is coming back for his senior year. So pumped about things like that. Some other key studs like Pons expecting to come back. Guys that, again, coming into 2024, they're going to be here. I mean, they could transfer out and whatnot, but the fact that they are not going to a bigger school like a Georgia or Bama or Texas, and they're staying with Indiana, just shows the trajectory of this program. And, if we get the quarterback that we're hoping for next year, fully expect an 8-9 win season next season, and that is beyond good enough considering where we were just 12 months ago.
Yeah, no question. T.I., I want to ask you about basically Friday and Saturday's games. They really left us thinking that it was a bit lopsided, and I want to get your take before I chime in with what's wrong with this whole setup. We are obviously excited that there are 12 teams. Remember back in the day where you had 3 or 4 teams that had a legit argument. Man, 3 or 4, we have 12 teams that have the opportunity. So we can't complain that much, but there is a fatal flaw, I think. I want to get your take though first. What did you think of the college football games that we had this weekend?
I mean, of course, they were a little lopsided. Indiana put up the best fight out of all the I guess you'd say underdogs. I think that was a pretty fair fight down the middle. But personally, what I think is wrong with it is you had a bunch of teams that kind of snuck in there based on how their season folded, where they're at in the polls, and they proved that they didn't belong there. How do you fix that? I don't know, because I also have a complaint that the conference championship games don't really mean anything anymore. And it's kind of like, well, even if you don't win this, you still get a second chance to play again and in the playoffs. And hey, maybe you extend that game and you get another second game, and then who knows, maybe you parlay that all the way to the championship. So there's a lot to be desired there on thinking that through. I don't know how many different factors comes into play. I would say factor in your strength of schedule, factor in the average strength of schedule, I guess, of your opponents, and their wins that they've had versus how many top 25 teams you play. I mean, I don't know how you fix it to make sure like the right 12 get in there, but SMU proven that they were a little overmatched. Clemson as well. I mean, Tennessee, we thought would put up a better fight, even they didn't. I think Tennessee is a much better team than the fight they put up, on Saturday. But needless to say, they did not show up, so it was kind of embarrassing. So I don't think in that situation. I think that was a primetime matchup, and the playoff committee got it right. It just obviously didn't live up to the standards what we hoped. But other than that, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm glad I'm not in charge of having to figure out how to fix it. But that's where I start at, is the fact that you got to make sure the conference games mean something. Maybe if you don't win your conference, then you're not. I don't know. There has to be some way to fix it. I mean, I have no idea how, but yeah, it's just the fact that like you've got, Texas Creek back in there, and it's like they're obviously probably could go on a good run, and it's like, well, you didn't even, let's say Texas wins the whole national championship, and it's like, well, you didn't even win your conference championship. Now you're winning the national championship. It just seems kind of a weird stepping stool there.
So let me ask you this. If Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas were the 4 seeds, Miles, would you have a problem with that if that was the case?
For me, no, based on I think that they're probably the top 4 teams, but the rankings wouldn't have gone that way. It's really hard to say because things change, and it's like Ohio State at the end of the day, they still lost to Michigan, and their other loss at Oregon, that's a good loss, but
Right.
Penn State is still going to be ahead of them, even though Ohio State did beat Penn State on the road. So it's really hard to say because you'd have to revert back to the end of the year and recalibrate from there. But those are the best 4 teams in the country, I think. Or I mean, really 5, because I think the debate would then come down to 2 spots for 3 teams between Texas, Penn State, Ohio State. Then it's like, well, Notre Dame should be there too because they ended up behind Penn State as well. But I think it's pretty clear that Notre Dame's a better football team than Penn State is.
Right.
So no, but I think that's my main thing of people are like, well, it shouldn't be 12 teams. It should be 8 teams. Well, a lot of you folks were complaining IU was in. And if we went to 8 teams, there would be no automatic bids, and Indiana still would have been in because Indiana was number 8. They just happened to be the 10 seed because of how the seeding is. And I'm sure you'll talk about it here in a second, but the seeding is the real issue here. That's what has to be cured, because I don't mind if there's 12 teams. I don't mind the auto bids. That's fine. The fact that Arizona State and Boise State got a bye, and now Texas, who's the runner-up in the SEC, now gets to play Arizona State, whereas Oregon has to play Ohio State, both on a neutral field, is absolutely absurd. Mm-hmm. And if you shake that out again, again, IU would have been home against Boise State, and it would have been just a whole different ball game playing at home. And I think a big thing that people cannot take for granted is the fact that the home teams had a massive advantage, especially in late December and especially in the cold. Even if Indiana's from cold area, you go up and you play in 20 degrees at Notre Dame, it's very, very tough. And that definitely showed. They got out coached. I get that. Got outplayed. Notre Dame's a better football team. That is perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with that. But we saw it across the board. The road teams weren't there. But this overreaction to, hey, it should be 12 teams. Look, next year, if it's 12 teams again, which it should be because they got a 2-year deal, we could see 3 out of 4 road teams then win. They're like, oh, no, let's expand it now. So it's just, you take one example and people overreact to it. I mean, come on. I enjoyed it. I mean, obviously, I'm biased because I had a dog in the fight, but I assume going forward, it's not going to happen every year, obviously. Just let it shake out as it is. They need to fix the seeding is what I think it really comes down to, because they are not going to revert back to 4 teams or 8 teams or even 6 teams. It's only going to expand if it does go a different path. Just change the seeding.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense to have the true top 12 teams or not, but the one thing I will say is I am in no way, shape, or form ever going to be accused of being a Bama fan. Like, never in my life. However, if you're going to have a team with 3 losses, here's how my 12 teams would shake out in this order: Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Tennessee, Boise State, IU, Arizona State, Bama at number 11, and SMU at number 12. And that leaves Clemson out and Miami out. Now, I get you can make a case for Miami, but my big thing is I'm not a Bama fan, but if you're going to have a team that's lost 3 times, I don't want it to be Clemson. I'd rather have it be Bama, because Bama's still Bama. I know they lost to garbage teams. Well, Notre Dame lost to a garbage team too. And their schedule was garbage. So, like, what are we talking about? And again, I see that there's no real, like Miles, you said, but I don't know why you have to do it where Arizona State is automatically propelled just because they won their conference game, when that just all of those wins that they accumulated were not as impressive as some other teams. And like, you just leapfrog.
And I know Clemson's only in because they got the auto berth as the conference champion.
And that's what I'm saying. That's just, I just don't. And again, we could let it play out. I agree with you that, like, hey, this was the first year. But I just think, like, that's not the way to go necessarily.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a mind with the auto bids. 5 probably is too many then. If that's going to be the argument then. And if you're going to do 3 or 4 auto bids, then their seeding's their seeding. If they're outside that top 12, I mean, God, conferences are really bad if you're only doing 3 or 4 auto bids and that 3rd or 4th team's ranked like 14th, then they get the 12 seed. I mean, you're almost still in the same spot you are in this year where Clemson was. So it's going to be imperfect no matter what. But the issue is, hey, shit talks, money walks. They're always going to look to expand this. The reality is 4 teams was probably for the best.
Yeah. I think we will have a true champion. No one can argue. I don't think Miami, or Bama can complain. Those are the 2 teams that probably can complain the most. And I think at the end of the day, whoever wins, it's like, well, Miami, you lost twice. Alabama, you lost 3 times. Like, get out of here. You cannot complain when you have teams that only either have 1 loss or 0. So we'll see how it goes. It was overall exciting until kickoff of all these games, because it was SMU. Every time I turned it on between the Houston Texans and Chiefs game, I look up and there's a pick 6 being thrown by SMU, and there's that meme of the horse just like sitting at the stable watching the game. It's like, this horse didn't deserve this. like it was just bad.
Yeah. Made Penn State look like an elite football team.
And I was with some Ohio State and Tennessee fans watching the game on TV, and we were all talking about Penn State, and we were all rolling our eyes like, oh God, now people think Penn State's good, and they're not. Like, we were all saying the same thing. It's like, hopefully everyone does that. I mean, even in Happy Valley, they have to know, like, guys, well, no, probably they think they're that good, I guess. But so college football, man, overall an exciting thing. We'll see what shakes out on December 31st and January 1st. A quick side note that's interesting is, how did Michigan beat Ohio State? And isn't it a bit juicy that they play Alabama? Like, we haven't talked about that at all. Like, it kind of is a little juicy, I think.
Well, we did touch on it a bit because I remember mentioning to you guys how that game won't be what it could be because of the portal. And we've already seen players from both teams announce that they're either going in the draft or entering the portal. So it's not a good snapshot of what it was. But I'm telling you, that Michigan team from the second half of the Indiana game through the rest of the year is a top 15 team in the country. If those two teams were at full strength, and again, Bama away from Tuscaloosa is hot garbage, and a main reason why they absolutely belong nowhere near the playoff this year, because had they gone to a team like Notre Dame, they would have lost by about 25. So we'll actually see how that shakes out, because both teams are going to have their JV squads or their 2025 rosters out there.
Yeah,
Sans their recruiting classes and portal transfer classes, but it's not going to be as epic as it could be. But if those teams were at full go, good on good, Michigan started to play how we thought they would at the beginning of the year. Michigan's a good football team. They didn't just win at Ohio State on a fluke. Sure, their offense wasn't that great, but their defense is that damn good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. You heard it here.
You heard it here first. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Michigan's going to win the game, because I don't know what those 11 on 11 on either side of the ball is going to look like for that game. No one knows, because it's not settled yet who's entering the draft or the portal. But it's too bad, because we get robbed of something that really could have been a great football game between those two. And another thing, that I just hate that the portal opens right now. I get it, because you need players to enroll for this next semester, but there's got to be something fixed there. It's like, hey, if you want to transfer, sorry, you don't get to enroll till the fall semester. Then you don't get to go and do spring ball with the other team. If you want to leave your school to go elsewhere, we aren't going to, I don't want to like condone and saying like it's a complete negative thing, but we aren't just going to give you that added bonus that you can just go ahead and enroll now and really screw over the team that you were with, that you had committed to beforehand.
Yeah, and one thing too I thought was interesting, if you caught the end of the Ohio State game, they let the quarterback play when he entered. He's already not going to be there. And I remember I'm watching again, like I said, with Ohio State fans, and they were booing. Why is this guy in? He's not even with us. Why? And the Ryan Day pulled the captains aside and asked them, if what they wanted to do, and they said, let him play. And that's kind of odd, I feel like if a guy's literally entered the transfer portal, oh, there he is in the football game, like, wait, what?
Oh, he's leaving. Let's just give him a chance to just randomly get hurt out there.
Could you imagine if like his offensive lineman on accident like stepped on his ankle or something?
Let him through.
What in the world? That's a Ryan Day move. I've ever seen one.
The NCAA is such a mess. Look, these kids are going to do it. There's over 2,000 people in the portal right now. I was about to say kids. Some are like 30-year-old men now, because they get like 11 years of eligibility anymore.
It's a mess.
The NCAA just does. They're like, they just had the hand on the throat, and they're like, if we don't have any control anymore, then we're just not going to do a damn thing.
Yeah, they're just completely. We're going to laugh at this in 10 years, because it can't last. Like, this isn't going to hold for a full decade. And we'll just be like, remember when you could do whatever you wanted after you couldn't do a single thing?
It used to be that JUCO kids if they played in JUCO, it counted against their eligibility. That's no longer the case, because the Supreme Court ruled that they couldn't do it. So someone put up a meme to hear me out that they could have 11 years. They literally could redshirt their freshman year of JUCO, play the second year, medical redshirt third year, play the fourth year at JUCO, and they only use up 2 years, and then they go through like the other redshirt, medical redshirt, Olympic redshirt, and then by the age of like
Olympic
29 or 30, they're playing their 11th year of college sports.
Chris
like
Wanky
And
up
no
in here.
and no COVID year.
It's like
And
they've
there's
been-
no COVID year on there. It
they've
could
been
happen. They
playing
could throw
European-
in number 12. We got
yeah.
another pandemic coming.
It's like they've been playing European basketball for like 15 years. Now they're joining the NBA. Like, hey, we're gonna come over here. Yeah, college
Reverse
football is so
Ricky
crazy.
Rubio.
Like, remember when it was illegal to just rent a car for like a recruit's parents, but now it's like you got kids like signing endorsement deals with Kool-Aid. Like,
You couldn't buy
what in
a
the world,
sandwich.
you know?
Your boy at Auburn got in trouble for holding a barbecue for recruits at his house, paying for
Oh, I
the
know.
food for himself, and then paid. And oh well, he lied about it. Yeah, well, when you're dealing with a domestic terrorist organization like the NCAA, yeah, it's okay to lie to terrible people like that. So
Yeah.
I like
I
Bruce
mean,
Pearl, by the way.
yeah, I hate that happened to UT, but I really don't because hey, their loss,
You
our
got
gain.
him.
But
You got him right.
but it is very ridiculous that even it was a thing. You know, I remember back when all the Cam Newton stuff was going on at Auburn, and you know, and I remember just seeing in the stands of at the national championship when they're just scanning through, and it's like all these number 2 jerseys, you know, and it's just like, all right, so the guy that's literally the school's profiting millions off of right now, just that number 2, like. So he doesn't deserve any kind of cut of any of this. Like, I always just thought it was ridiculous, but now no telling the endorsement deals some of these people
The
have.
NCAA's like Jack Black and School Rock. They're like, what do you want me? What do you want us to do? Just do whatever you want. I want to learn from my teacher. Besides that, I want you to put some rules in place, NCAA. Besides that.
I mean, can you imagine the NIL deals that Tim Tebow could have been able to sign back in college? Oh man!
Oh my God, dude!
It would have been
the Bible would have signed him to
chastity belts.
Yeah, farmersonly.com would probably do endorsements with him.
Remember Robin Hood Men in Tights? They had she had the chastity belt. They could bring that. Right. You could sell it.
It's good stuff. Dave Chappelle's
you know what's
in that
cool?
movie.
Virginity, man.
Carrie Eloise, it's good stuff.
Yep, the good old Wild West.
I think, but that's another thing too. I think the NIL deals. I mean, I think it's cool that kids are getting cuts of things, but you know, it's also a gift and a curse as well. You know, because that's all people care about. It's like getting the deals, hitting the transfer portal, maximizing their 1 or 2 years left, or like Miles said, extending it, finding different ways, finding loopholes to extend it. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
oh man,
dude at the frat party. It's like, shouldn't that guy graduate about 4 years ago? Like, yeah, but he's just like still here.
He brings his kid.
He
has a son that's enrolled. His son's enrolled at the school as well, and he's still playing.
It's like, what position? Oh, he's a kicker, man. Yeah, he's been kicking for like 7 years.
Dicker the kicker.
Yeah, this last weekend, the PNC championships where Charlie Woods hit his first hole-in-one. But it's like the father-son duo. We're going to have father-son outings in college sports now.
Yeah, with all the extensions. Yeah, they'll be on the same team, though.
Bronny, LeBron. Oh, it's absurd.
So let's shift gears here to baseball for a little bit. A couple things I want to get into. I will be honest with you guys. I cannot tell a lie to the good fellow Idiot Nation. I found out from our own post on social media. Again, follow Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media for sometimes some breaking news. I'll be honest. I thought Ricky Henderson was still playing in Japan, like at some level, or like, stealing bags. I don't know. He did it in his 40s. He's like Julio Franco, like just always playing baseball. So the fact that he's no longer with us, I really thought, man, I couldn't believe how old he was then when I saw that. And I got a funny Ricky Henderson story for you. If that you guys might have heard. And if you guys have some, chime in. But so here's mine. It's from Harold Reynolds, if you've seen this. And he, back in the 80s, Ricky was stealing, 900 bags a year, right? In those days, it was just like it didn't even make sense, right? So he's hurt one year, and Harold Reynolds, and one other guy, Vince Coleman, I don't know, whoever it was, both had like 49, 50, 51 stolen bases at the end of the year. They're both tied. Last game of the year, the other guy goes 0 for, doesn't get a stolen base. Harold Reynolds gets his bag and is the steals king. And Monday morning gets a call, and this is part of the funny, like, Ricky Henderson. He speaks. He uses the third person. So like the Jimmy in Seinfeld, Jimmy's got his eye on you. Oh, Jimmy played good. Like that's Ricky Henderson. So he calls he calls Harold Reynolds. Henderson here. Hey, Rick, what's going on, man? Like, he's, they're kind of buddies. He's like, 50 stolen bases. Henderson would have had 100 by the break and hung up on them. That's like, that is such like a movie, but this was real life. And Harold Reynolds just like, he is like cheesing, grinning from ear to ear, telling that story whenever I see it. He's told it a few times. I think I caught it on like MLB Network or something. And I just always remembered that, and just like how he was. You could be a casual fan and still know, like, oh yeah, Ricky Henderson, the greatest leadoff guy of all time, and scoring runs and stealing bases. And man, yeah, we don't always talk about people who die throughout the week that we see, but man, I just saw that, and it's like, man, he was one of the truly great ones. Ti, do you remember watching Ricky Henderson steal all those bags?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, anything Oakland Athletics back then, you just as a '80s to '90s kid, you soaked it up. And
Right.
I mean, I know he had a stint with the Yankees as well, but I always remember him as an Oakland Athletic, and him holding up that bag, holding up the base, the iconic photo.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, photos meant so much more. I mean, you had the Bo photo with the football pads, with the baseball bat. Like the internet, wasn't this regular thing where we had just videos.
Sports Illustrated
nonstop.
was
like,
the way to go.
Yeah, you would see a photo like that, and it was just iconic, and it was everywhere. And you always saw that with Ricky Henderson. And yeah, and all the stories, all the legends, that you always hear about him. It's I feel that in Major League, like Willie Mays Hayes is modeled after Ricky Henderson, 100%.
Just his personality.
Yeah, I mean, like that's who he is definitely supposed to be, and so yeah, he's iconic, part of my childhood and a lot of folks. I mean, you back then you would have your gloves you would buy had these like fake autographs in them, and I know many times many people had the one with Ricky Henderson on there. So you actually have your autograph on one of those gloves that kids were wearing in the '80s and '90s, and you made it.
Yep.
So you were a superstar.
I had my Barry Bonds glove, and I'm left-handed, so it was perfect. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so rest in peace, Ricky Henderson. He's definitely one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah. Miles, I want to get your take on something, thinking baseball, because Rob Manfred, like, it was someone asked him, it was like kind of tongue in cheek, but if I just can't believe they're thinking about this seriously. The golden slugger rule, or the golden bat rule, which we need to all meet up and go to a Savannah Banana game. Like, that would be redonkulous and so fun. And that's what they do, where you can have a player, you have like, imagine it's the bottom of the ninth, you're down 2, the bases are loaded, and your number 8 hitter, who is 0 for his last 16, is up to bat. And you're like, oh. You can just be like, Aaron Judge, you're hitting now. Like, don't have him catch a fly ball. We know how that will go. But like, imagine being able to do that, and then the next game be like, okay, well, for the Mets, Soto has been red hot. All right, now he'll bat. Like, it, which is totally defeats the purpose of what baseball is. I get it. But I was just thinking, would you rather have that Miles, or a team of 9 guys go out and field their positions, come back after 3 outs, and a whole new set of guys actually make the at bats, because you just have you have like 9 DHs basically. You have a team of only people who hit the ball, like football. You have a whole new set of guys come in, and then you have guys that just play defense, just like in football. Maybe you have like a Travis Hunter, a guy who can do both, but the basic idea is only offense and only defense. Would you rather have that or the golden bat?
Adam, you know what I like to say is you can shake a tree and you'll get 10 gloves, but only 1 bat. But you're telling me I can shake a tree and get 9 bats? Okay, I don't know if that exists. Like, is there enough? Are there 270 guys? What, 30 teams in MLB times 9? 270 guys that are like reliably hit. I know I only care about one team, but God, even being a Reds fan, I don't know if there's enough talent out there where it can send out 9 guys that can hit very well. But if in theory, like there's enough depth out there, hell yeah, I want 9 guys that are gonna hit consistently, or at least can hit like over even just 250. I would take that. Then one guy, even if it can change, he might be hot, but if he has that one time where it's like, if I can get 9 guys consistently hitting and then send out 9 different guys just to field, but I feel like Mayfield is on his life mission is to destroy the game of baseball. So you throw a curveball there, pun intended. God, that's really hard because I don't know if we're living in the real world. So this probably wouldn't happen. Oh hell, actually it might. I don't know if there's enough guys out there that could have 9 consistent hitters in addition to 9 guys being able to field well. So knowing that being the case, I may actually have to go with the golden bat.
That's fair. Ti.
It sounds like to me that he's trying to turn it into like a video game where you can just pretty much pick and choose and plug and play your players wherever you want, and put the best at every position. You have a specialist at each position on each bag, each plate, each hitting slot. You have a create your own character for batting fourth. Clean up coming up there.
Let me ask you this: in
McGwire,
Double-A
like
somewhere,
looking arms, like in NBA Jam, like
in Double-A somewhere, there is a shortstop who is a vacuum cleaner, but he's 0 for his last 137. He
sucks.
Cannot hit the ball.
So he sucks.
But he's a vacuum at shortstop, and I'm like,
but he sucks still.
So like, if you put him for the Yankees at shortstop, and just he only plays defense, and then you have a guy in AAA who has 19 errors, but he has 27 home runs in AAA, and you say, okay, you bat for this guy. I mean, that's where it's like, man, there are guys like that. There has to be.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's enough. That's my argument. I don't know if there's enough guys like that.
But that's the thing. That's why some teams will be it's still the haves and have-nots. That's
everybody
not
has a
buddy.
Change. Everybody has a buddy. They wear a matching wristband, and that's who your team buddy is. And
maybe matching numbers, like number 9 on offense, number 9 on defense. In
Team
college
9.
football, they do it. I think that's incredibly stupid.
Team 9.
Do they have twin pajama day too?
Matching they have matching T-shirts.
The Savannah Bananas do.
They show, their pictures.
Bunk beds.
They show each other's picture when they're up to bat, both players.
It's an interesting proposition, though, Adam. That's since we're going to crazy. We're there now. It's a fair question.
So
this is Sports City Nation. I mean, what are we doing?
Are we fixing baseball?
No, it's the MLB.
Are we fixing baseball?
The MLB.
We've been tasked with fixing baseball, apparently. So
no, it was
Commissioner
just something.
Doesn't want that.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I can pick and choose my player, my specialist, and of course that's what the people that want people to watch baseball. That's what the people that don't care about it. They're just making money off of it. That's what they're going to choose, because they want people to see the best product on the field. But that takes away from the organic aspect of why people love the game to begin with.
So the best product on the field, perfect segue, because my Penix is a pretty good product.
Does it rise?
Again, another reason to follow Sports Idiot Nation, because shout out to Ti, who made some awesome posts of what were some of them. Miles, do you remember?
Rise of the Penix.
Rise of the Penix is one.
Yeah, Michael asked me about Michael Penix.
Yeah.
No, what's the one about the draft? My eighth. What was that one?
Ladies love my 8th overall Penix. You know, I mean, sometimes you gotta be honest, you know?
8th overall.
I mean, 8th overall is pretty good. There's a lot of them in the world.
He had a good debut.
There's a lot of them in the world.
He rose to the occasion on his debut.
So, yeah, the Falcons.
Rise of the Penix.
A
lot of Atlanta fans' Penixes are rising when they were watching that game.
I don't know how else to get into it. I mean, then Kirk Cousins maybe to the Titans. Do you guys see that? Like, is that there's like whispers of it?
It gets me excited.
Would you guys be down to have Kirk Cousins as the Tennessee Titans quarterback?
For like $1 million, yeah, if that's what they're saying, you know? Yeah, like, okay, cool. $1 million, sure. Try it. Let's try it out.
Let's try.
Not for the money he would demand.
Yeah.
No.
That's kind of what I thought, but I mean.
Yeah. And same goes with Sam Darnold. It's cool, yeah, I'd love to have him, but not for the price tag.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the Falcons do. They picked up a big win. Shout out to Fort Wayne native, as Miles is a Fort Wayne native. Jesse Bates, we bring him up every so often when he makes big plays, and a big, huge pick six for his Penix. And
he was supporting the Penix. He was holding the. Oh wait, I can't. I'm not supposed to do that.
Just a big old huge Penix.
So they won pretty handedly. But continue to just throw the NFC South away. I don't think they're relevant. They can go to the CFL really and do their thing. So let's take a look at. Yeah, let's take a look at the standings. Somehow, the Eagles. I know there was like a legal hit and knocked Hurts out, and like all these Eagle fans are crying about it. But
what's new? Eagles fans crying.
Yeah.
Coach. All he does is cry.
Well documented about Eagles fans, but I just feel like you still have to take care of business. However, remember the teams that were kind of following my Commanders. Then you could say, that game was crazy. But as you look at what the Lions obviously took care of the Bears. I don't know. So let me ask you this: out of the Vikings, the Vikings, the Lions, and the Eagles, which team has the best chance to end up number one? Ti.
I think it's the Lions. Because I mean, if Hurts is out, I mean, how long they said he got a concussion, so he's definitely going to be out for a minute. So I mean, Lions got the easiest road there, I think.
And they still have a lot of injuries though too, and injuries, guys. They get some guys coming back, but they have guys who are completely out, and that's why I'm like, again, we've talked. I don't know
they
how
bite
many
kneecaps though. Next man up, they just bite kneecaps.
Yeah. How many episodes have we talked about Minnesota being a team that no one talks about? If they end up the number 1 seed, dude, that'll be the weirdest year in NFL history. Like, but
Sam
Miles,
Darnold,
do you give them a decent chance to actually do it?
I think it comes down to the final game, Minnesota at Detroit, and I emphasize the word at. Because that matters. And I do think Detroit wins that game. But hell yeah, they got a chance. You're going to tell me for one game to end the year? Hell yeah, they got a chance. They've got a very good chance. And the Lions haven't been completely dominant in the last few weeks. And Minnesota, again, just they find a way. Doesn't matter who's across the line of scrimmage from them, they're going to beat them by a field goal. It just seems like that's what they do. And I expect them to be in that game in Detroit because they'll have something to play for. And even more than that, not just the division, but something to really prove. I think that they feel like they've been disrespected because all the talk has been about the Lions, which is weird as hell to say. But yes, they absolutely have a chance. But I do agree. I think Detroit wins that game and therefore wins the division and gets the 1 seed and home field advantage. But yeah, one game, one afternoon or evening, if they flex a game, whatever it might be.
Yeah, any given Sunday.
Hell yeah.
But they play the Packers
flexing.
first as well, which is also going to be tough. Obviously, here's the part that really is like, it just kind of sucks. Like Minnesota would be the 5 seed as of right now. Like that is that is unbelievable, dude. The 5 seed, and they would have the second best record, like in their division, but because the Eagles would win their division and the Lions would win theirs, the way it pans out, like that would be so frustrating. Like if that happens,
might go to a team that's 9-8, like Tampa, have to play on the road, essentially across country, against a team that won 4 or 5 games less than they did.
It's kind of like the college football thing. Like it's just like, well, it just shook out that way this year. Like typically in the NFL, we're not talking about that. Yeah, every once in a while, like Seattle goes in with a losing record, wins the NFC West, and we're like, what is this? Like every once in a while, the Texans are probably the worst team. If we shift to the AFC, the Texans found a way to be one of those teams to lose to KC in a weird game. Gruesome injury there in that one. But Houston, again, in that division is just not good, and they have to send someone to the playoffs, so it's going to be Houston. You'd rather root for Satan, as we've talked about that, but that's not going to happen. I think Houston's going to make it. But is anyone catching at this point? Where are we at in the AFC? Is it official? I haven't even double checked that. Is there a way that
Houston's clinched the division, but that's wrapped up. It just comes down to the Chargers and Broncos needing to win one more game apiece, and then they clinch their wild card spots. The only thing really up in the air now is who wins the AFC North between Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Right, they're both 10-5.
But that's gone. The AFC West is clinched, and so is the AFC East, as Houston AFC South.
But the number one
3
seed,
of the 4, they still have to
Buffalo,
win one more.
If
they
just
need
City
to win
wins,
one more, or Buffalo loses one more,
or Buffalo loses. Right? Yeah. And Kansas City, on Christmas plays at Pittsburgh. That could be a tough one. And then they play, so they're done playing home games. Kansas City then plays at Denver, and Denver may need that game in order to make the playoffs. It's possible, right? So Kansas City could lose those games. The Steelers need that win. And if the Broncos do, who knows what will happen. That's next year, January 5th. Jeez, it feels like
it's Kansas City. Kansas City ain't losing back-to-back games.
I wouldn't think so. But
it's officially talking like the refs officially illegal for them to lose back-to-back games.
But they're not allowed to.
If the Bills, if they want the Bills to be a thing, then I could see it happening, because if the Bills win out, then they actually become the 1 seed. So the Bills' remaining schedule,
losing out,
the Bills' remaining schedule is way better. They have, which is weird that they just played the Patriots for the first time, only beat them by 3 after losing like the whole game. But they have the Jets and then at the Patriots. So those games for the Bills are way more suited for a win than what Kansas City has. That could be very fascinating, but all could be for naught. If Kansas City just simply wins on Christmas, then all that's for naught, and they're just the 1 seed, right? But interesting to see I can't believe Denver
It has
is
to be on
even.
Christmas. What
Yeah.
a Christmas story.
So
Give me a break.
Netflix, right?
And
Netflix,
and chill.
Yeah.
just a chill guy. I don't know what the Netflix stream is going to be like because we saw, what it was when something popular happened, or we didn't see because it was loading.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's still
Um,
buffering.
Right.
Yeah, they better get that fixed for sure.
That wasn't even a real fight anyway. We talked about that for sure.
People will riot in the streets.
So, okay, the next thing I want to talk about is it's been talked about over the last week or so that they're officially looking, Miles was talking about official, they kind of are officially looking into the 3-point line in the NBA. Like, they are looking at ways to improve the game, and the 3-point line has been mentioned over and over and over. And what I want to submit to you guys is, yes, Steph Curry ruined the game. I get it. He shoots from half court and all that. And the amount of threes that are taken, there was 77 threes taken in a game last week between both teams. That is unbelievable. But I don't think, to be honest, that is the problem is the 3-point line necessarily, because you're not going to take it away. It's not going to be like, well, we're just going to go to 1-pointers and 2-pointers. That's not a thing. And you can move it back as much as you want to a certain spot. You're still going to have guys like Tyler Hero and Steph Curry and Dame just pull up from half court anyway. And guys like Chet Holmgren and big guys like that can also knock them down from out there. But that's the key to me. Chet Holmgren and these big guys cannot post up the way that Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, George Mikan, I'll just throw out random super old guy, but they don't post up in that way. And so the offense doesn't move in that way. And I think that's the bigger issue, is that they're teaching Wemby and Giannis to spot up at the 3-point line and not Hakeem. The NBA needs to hire Hakeem Olajuwon to work with anyone 6'9" and up. They'll go through a camp and they'll just pay Hakeem, and they can teach them up and unders, and they can teach them soft baby hooks. They can teach them. Don't give them the dream shake. That's not fair. Don't give them the dream shake, but give them basic.
You can order the dream shake for extra fee.
Yep. The URL link is at Sports Idiot Nation. You can just test it. But I just think the post-up game is really the lack of is what the issue is. Miles, do you see them moving the 3-point line? What do you think is going to come out of this as they officially talk about this?
No, I think it's going to get even dumber, and they're going to do what they did in the 3-on-3 league, which I'm fine in the big 3 league
Ice
that they
Cube?
put in the 4-point line or circles. I see that happening before they move the 3-point line out, because there's only so much space on the sides. What is it going to turn into, a old middle school gym where the 3-point line runs into the boundary?
Right.
There's only so much space on the sides. But you're absolutely right. And it parallels humanity. The early 2000s, we started to go in this direction. We peaked in the 90s and early 2000s, and the NBA did as well. I'm glad that the NBA is going back to NBC. That's a start. But the physicality of the league imploded from there. The league got soft, and they allowed freedom of movement, which, again, shout out to our episode with Memphis J. We discussed this, that when the league actually was physical and the games were in the 80s and 90s back in the Jordan era, basketball was fun to watch, and viewership was a lot higher, myself included. Nowadays, there's no point. I can watch the All-Star game at any time. I can go onto YouTube and watch reels of it. And again, I do not blame Steph Curry. Steph Curry is one of the all-time greats. It's not his fault. He's awesome. It's the league's fault for allowing the flow of the game for the offense to be the way it is. Make the game competitive again, force teams to play defense, and also make traveling illegal too. I think that's another sidebar there. But just make basketball again. I'm not even asking you to make it great again. Just make it a sport again, because now it's becoming annoying, and it's going the way, honestly, of baseball, that they're trying to make the game more fun to watch and more popular, and really it's just destroying the league.
Look, Steph Curry, it's not you, it's me. It's me, you know. It's all right, Steph.
It's not you, it's them.
Don't take it personal. You know, it's definitely not you. Something wrong with me.
Yeah, because I can't shoot like you. Yeah, not too many people can.
Yeah, no, I mean, to say the 3-point line is a problem is ridiculous, because I mean the 3-point line has always been a thing. It's just, yeah, of course, you know, Steph has, like I've said before, he has everybody and their brother thinking they can shoot threes. You know, he's got Joel Embiid out there like chucking up threes. Like, yeah, that's the part to me that drives me crazy. So like I can see why viewership's down, because nobody wants to see that. You know, nobody wants to tune in and see the guy that should be just dunking on everyone's head out there just shooting threes and, like, you know, throwing his arms up and stuff, you know. I mean, so I get the argument, but how do you fix it? I don't know. I don't know how you fix it. Maybe you give each team, you know, maybe you only get 30, you can only shoot 33s a game, and you decide who your shooters are at that point. It's like,
You know, in
That's
some of
insane.
those softball
It's like
leagues that you can
10
only,
home runs, it's an out.
yeah, you can only hit so many, and it's an out.
You
and
read
so
my
it's
brain.
like,
you
Yep.
want to
It's
get the
like-
bases loaded and then hit your home runs every time, right?
So-
And
so,
like,
well, I mean, you could do it, like I said at the beginning of the game, you know, Steve Kerr's like, all right, so we got 33. So, Curry, I'm going to give you 10 of them. You get 10 shots. And then I'm dividing another 10 up between, you know, X, Y, Z. You know, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's why you change the game a
And
little
we
bit.
know that isn't actually going to happen, but what might happen is they move it 5 feet back. Hell, you can move it 10 feet back. What difference does it make? Steph and Dame and Bane are still going to be knocking it down from there. What,
For
are you
sure.
going to move it behind half court, the 3-point line?
yeah, what do you get?
That's not going to happen either.
They
but
should move it to
it's
outer
ridiculous.
space and play against aliens.
Just drop
what
it
they
from the
should do.
moon, man.
That's what I wanna
the
see.
Monstars are going to
There
be
should
filling
be a
it up
Space
again.
Jam. There should be a
Then
Space
we'll
Jam.
have the NBA.
Welcome
nothing
to the
but
Space
aliens.
Jam.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
Only 2 NBAs.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of funny that I think Charles Barkley was talking about it the other day. You know, he was like saying, yeah, it's 3 points fault. Like, of course, Charles Barkley's going to say that. You know, he's not out there shooting threes.
Right. And his
I mean,
post-up
he
game.
could. I mean, he
Loved his
could.
post-up game.
Yeah, he still could. But I mean,
He hit a few.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't his
But-
game, but he
but
could.
yeah, he's not Steph Curry.
So, speaking of Charles Barkley, again, another reason to follow Sports Idiot Nation. You can go back to our Facebook page and check this out, because we shared it. Like, somehow they bamboozle Shaq into doing the same thing like every year, and they told him that that Kenny had gifts for everyone, and he's handing out gifts, and he said, Shaq, yours is just too big. You got to come out here so I can give it to you. And he just full on shoves him into the tree that they have on the set for TNT. And he's just like in there now. He's just like a man of the trees. He's like,
He lives in
just
the tree.
so
It's a big
big.
tree. It's a big tree.
That was just hilarious.
It's a Griswold
Love
tree.
TNT, and glad that they're keeping that group together for sure. We of course keep our group together every Monday, every Thursday.
Mayday! Mayday! Cover your brains, boys and girls. Put on your tinfoil hats, because this is Idiot of the Week.
All right, you idiots and sinners. This week's idiot is none other than Lane Kiffin, who on Friday night had the audacity to say to the committee, way to keep us on the edge of our seats. Oh, and then what happened on Saturday night? The SEC goes out to a Big Ten school and gets decleated. Tennessee got absolutely boat raced, but we're led to believe by these jamokes, like Kiffin, like everyone that's tied to Alabama, including ESPN, because you know they're in bed with Bama, that we should have just let like 15 SEC teams into the college football playoff. It's absolutely absurd that a team like Indiana or SMU goes out and gets beat. They get beat. It happens. But guess what? Kentucky at home? Are you serious, Ole Miss? Shut the hell up, Lane Kiffin. And then you got a dude like Sean McDonough who's saying, oh, Indiana really didn't belong and played the closest game of the first round. Get it? It wasn't a 10-point game throughout. Fine, but that's still the final score. IU went into Ohio State and was competitive for a half till some special teams mishaps. Tennessee went in and got flat out embarrassed. But you have the audacity to say that I don't see why people think the Big Ten is any better than the ACC. Okay, come on. The Big Ten is a very good conference. Alabama, decent team, but you cannot lose to Vandy. You cannot lose to Oklahoma. Ole Miss, you cannot lose at Florida and lose at home to Kentucky, have 3 losses, and expect to make the playoff. Let's get serious here. If a team like Indiana was called Tennessee or was called Alabama and played in that game and lost by 10, no one would be saying anything. But it's all about the brand name, and it's absolutely disgusting, and it's complete and utter bias by an institution like ESPN and like a moron like Lane Kiffin, whose team had no business making the playoff after 3 losses. Lane Kiffin, ESPN, and everyone else tied to Bama and the SEC calling shots for them that they should have been in. You the idiot of the week.
You're an idiot. So they will renege our contract, I guess. They were going to offer us at Sports Idiot Nation a contract to do the podcast. I don't think we're getting that contract now. But that's all right. We'll find another way. Life finds a way.
Yes, man, you can still talk to me. Just don't worry about these guys.
Yeah.
Auburn, it's cool. I'm good with Auburn. We cool over there. You took A&M out of it.
Well, you know,
Hey.
speaking of Auburn, they did they're a basketball school now, like I said, and they did put another beat down on the
Perdon't.
top 25 team.
Hell yeah.
They-
I appreciate your service.
Exactly.
I told you I like Bruce Pearl. I told you I like Bruce Pearl.
He's good. I mean, you know, they're looking good, man. Their only loss is to Duke by like 4 points on Duke's home court. Like, I'll take that.
Auburn's the best team in the country, dude. They're the best team in the country. I said it in November. I say it in December. I'm going to say it in January. I'm going to say it in February. And I'm going to say it in March. And I also hope to say it in April as well. Auburn's
April,
the best
May,
college basketball
June,
team.
July, August, September, October, November. Oh, I just thought we were just talking.
Then you go back to a
Let's
football
cut
school.
it at the Final Four. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Cutting
so
nets,
frustrated.
Cutting nets. They'll be cutting nets. The Final Four.
And you can follow maybe some of the goings-ons of college basketball and the NBA at Hoops Idiot Nation. T.I., why don't you take us through some of the other Idiot Nations that you would like us to follow?
Man, you know, Hoops Idiot Nation. Got Puck Idiot Nation. Got Wrestling Idiot Nation. Got Turtles Idiot Nation. Got Racing Idiot Nation. We've got some other nations down the pipeline. Of course, you need to follow us, Sports Idiot Nation. If you're not, I'm pretty sure you would be, or you wouldn't be watching this. And then, follow Titans Idiot Nation. And
I was wondering if you were going to give that one with the year that you guys have had. I wasn't sure.
Tell me more about that one. I haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
There's some guy that makes really dumb videos and posts.
He's super dumb.
And people,
I doubt he has any
like
followers.
Yeah.
People like him a lot, and they think he's really smart and handsome, and has a really large brain when it comes to football. So
And a nice Penix, right?
and green glasses.
And a Penix, a Christmas Penix. Everybody needs a good Christmas Penix in their life.
8.
An 8th overall Penix. Ladies love my 8th overall Penix.
Oh man! All right, we will see.
Visit the Printiful shop and pick up your Penix shirt today.
Yes, make sure you check the link in the description. Check out all of our gear at Sports Idiot Nation. Your team sucks. That's my favorite line. So check that out. We got every team covered. And remember, we come to you every Monday and Thursday at Sports Idiot Nation. The most fun way to watch is, of course, on YouTube. So with that, Merry Christmas. We will talk to you after after the Christmas day goes down, we will talk more on Thursday, talk about some presents and things like that. So we will see you Thursday. Okay, all you sinners, follow Sports Idiot Nation on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and remember, the most fun way to watch us is on YouTube every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new content drops. Remember, the podcast can also be found on the usual suspects of Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Always remember, don't be an idiot.
Sinner.